Why Lamborghini never raced in Formula One, and why that might actually make total sense. While Ferrari is basically part of Formula One's DNA, Mercedes owned the last decade, and Red Bull redefined what top-tier performance looks like. Lamborghini has stayed out, just out, as if the world's biggest motorsport stage wasn't interesting enough for them. And then you stop and wonder, is it pride, fear, disdain, or maybe, just maybe, Lamborghini figured out a game the others are still trying to win? Because the truth is, unlike what most people think, Lamborghini's absence from Formula One isn't an oversight. It's a choice, a calculated, deliberate, strategic choice. And maybe, just maybe, a genius one. When you think of supercars, it's impossible not to picture a Lambo. They're loud, bold, outrageous machines that turn cars into full-blown spectacles. But Formula One, that's a whole different animal. It's a high-speed chess match, a cold war of engineering. It's politics, tech, relentless pressure, and above all, exposure. And that's exactly where Lamborghini's dilemma lies. They don't want exposure, at least not that kind. Because in F1, you either win or you're a joke. There's no middle ground. Fans don't care if your car looks insane, or if the engine roar shakes your soul, or if your design makes it look like a spaceship. What matters is the stopwatch. And Lamborghini never wanted to play that game. Actually, they did try once, and it went horribly. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, Lamborghini dabbled in engine supply. The idea was simple. Don't enter with a full factory team, just build beastly V12s for midfield and small teams like Larousse, Lotus, Ligier, and Modena. Maybe one day, if things went well, dream about their own team. But execution? A disaster. The engines were heavy, unstable, and expensive. Worst of all, they didn't take anyone anywhere. None of those teams made a splash. Some couldn't even qualify. The closest thing to a Lamborghini team was the Modena Team Lamborghini, and it lasted what? A year? Not even. A total flop. The only brief moment of hope came in 1993 when McLaren tested the engine with none other than Ayrton Senna. And rumor has it, Senna liked it. But then politics kicked in. British conservatism won out, and McLaren went with Peugeot. Yeah, Lamborghini lost out to Peugeot. Imagine the kind of trauma that leaves. Since then, they've never tried again, never even hinted at trying, and all signs point to them sticking with that decision. The official excuse, F1 doesn't align with our brand goals. But what does that actually mean? It means you can't slap a purple neon light under a diffuser, or throw on a bat-shaped wing, or have an exhaust that spits fire like it's straight from hell. In F1, you follow rules. You follow technical directives. Every gram of your car needs to be justified with CFD, wind tunnel data, and simulation. And that's just not Lamborghini's vibe. They weren't made to be rational, they were made to stir things up, to make noise, to be unforgettable. And if, in some alternate universe, they did join F1 and ended up running 10th, what would that do to the brand? Would you like an example of how to use some of the expressions in informal conversation? It'd be a disaster, because Lamborghini doesn't do average. It can't survive being just another team, and that's the biggest risk of all. You might be thinking, but what about Ferrari? They've had highs and lows and people still love them. True, but Ferrari was born on the track. Racing is in its DNA. The magic around Ferrari comes from its history in F1. They can lose, sure, but when they win, it's pure poetry. It's like the stars align. Lamborghini, on the other hand, it's never been about racing. It's always been about provoking. And there's another piece people forget. Lamborghini is one of Volkswagen Group's crown jewels. And guess who's repping the group in F1 starting in 2026? Audi, not Lamborghini, not even Porsche. Audi. And that says a lot. Because if even Porsche, a brand way more tied to precision engineering and track performance, struggled to find its place in modern F1, what can we expect from Lamborghini? They'd be starting from scratch. No history, no know-how, no real infrastructure, and worst of all, a huge amount of pressure not to flop in front of their lifelong rival, Ferrari. Yep, Ferrari again. Because in the end, it always circles back to them. Lamborghini was literally born to go head-to-head with Ferrari, and if they ever entered F1, every practice session, every race, every DNF would come with that same question. But how did Ferrari do? Can you imagine the hit their brand would take losing publicly, race after race, to the very company they set out to challenge? Lamborghini may have an ego, but it's not built to take humiliation. That's why they've chosen the path of absence, of mystique, because as long as they stay out, no one can say for sure they'd lose. No one can compare lap times, no one can measure failure. Outside of F1, Lamborghini remains undefeated, untouchable, imagined, because everything that's never tested stays perfect in theory. And honestly, that might be for the best. Lamborghini has carved out a kingdom of its own. Street-legal hypercars, limited editions, collabs with artists, special runs that sell out before they're even announced. While the F1 brands grind it out race after race for attention, Lamborghini cashes in on style, exclusivity, and sheer desire. A 30-second slow-mo commercial of a Huracan flying down a mountain road is worth more to them than an entire GP weekend in Spa. And let's not forget, they've got a solid presence in endurance and GT racing, places where they can control the narrative, prove performance without risking embarrassment, and most importantly, talk to their crowd. A crowd that wants luxury, power, and status, not necessarily the fastest sector time in Monaco. Because at the end of the day, Lamborghini doesn't sell cars. It sells a feeling, a sense of belonging. The fantasy that you're driving a rocket even if it spends 90% of the time stuck in traffic in front of an overpriced restaurant. And all of that works way better without lap times, live telemetry, or a paddock full of engineers breaking down your tenths of a second. Would you like a version of this in a more compact summary or caption style? Formula One might look glamorous on the surface, but it's a minefield. It's a place where even the biggest players stumble. Brands like Toyota, BMW, Jaguar, and even Honda, who's won it all, have struggled to justify the investment. In F1, even winning doesn't guarantee a payoff in brand image. You really think Lamborghini is going to throw its whole brand identity into that fire? Nope. And they don't have to. While Ferrari builds its image on the racetrack, Lambo builds it in the garages of the ultra-rich. It's a different kind of greatness, a different scoreboard, a whole different game. Ferrari is tradition, Lamborghini is provocation. One stirs emotion on the track, the other stuns in the showroom, and Lamborghini knows that. That's why they never truly entered F1, that's why they never came back. And honestly, that's probably why they never will. F1 is about proof, Lamborghini is about presence, and that's okay. Every brand picks its own stage to shine. Mercedes chose the pit wall, the wind tunnel, the data. Red Bull chose risk, boldness, and psychological warfare. Ferrari chose passion, drama, and legacy. Lamborghini chose Instagram. It might sound odd, but here's the thing, it works. No titles, no legendary drivers, no history of wins, but they've got a wait list. And in 21st century capitalism, that's worth just as much as a pole position. So next time someone asks why Lamborghini doesn't race in Formula One, tell them this, because they don't need to. They've already won the only championship that matters to them, the championship of imagination. And now I want to hear from you. Is Lamborghini playing it safe or playing it smart? Drop a comment. And if you enjoyed this ride through F1's untold side, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. Because around here, we go way beyond just what happens on the track.